Man, TierZoo dropped a new video. We got the jellyfish tier list. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, who was it? I think it's Steve Irwin. Yeah, Steve. I think Steve Irwin had died from getting stung by a jellyfish. I think, or what? No, no, it was a stingray. Ah, wait, it was a stingray. My fault. It was not. It was not a jellyfish. I stand corrected. The jellyfish tier list. Jellyfish are really like plastic bags just floating in the ocean.
This game has seen no shortage of balance patches, and like any other game, after a while some players have started complaining about power creep. Being able to breathe on
Power creep. Hey, crocodiles, they've been getting more OP over the centuries. Hey, the power creep went up.
dry land used to be an incredibly unique and powerful perk, but now
Wait, that's not a crocodile. What was that?
being able to breathe on dry land used to be an incredibly unique and powerful perk, but now it's basically par for the course with around half of the player base. Being able to see and respond to the actions of other players used to be an incredible advantage, one that literally invalidated a huge number of popular playstyles. The same could be said about warm-blooded respiration, pair bonding and offspring rearing, eusociality, and even flight. And yet, even after an uncountable number of game updates, balance patches, and expansion packs, one of the most consistent builds in the meta is
The
the
jellyfish.
a collection of ancient builds.
You know what? He might be. That's facts. I never really thought about it, but the jellyfishes, most of them they got the same type of build. They may be like different colors or something, maybe like shootout ink or something, but most of them they got the same type of build.
Build which usually have a grand total of 0 of the aforementioned abilities. Today we're going to discuss why the jellyfish, as well as other Nidarian.
Thinking about it, what do jellyfish really even do? Do they just like eat planktons or something? Zinc? I forget what it's called, like the little creatures, biotics in the water or something.
And jelly-like builds
How do they
have
survive?
been able to stand the test of time. We'll talk about the most notable members of the faction and place them all on the jellyfish tier list. But first, an overview of the history of the jellyfish build, plus a quick rundown of the typical stats and abilities they tend to have. Jellyfish have some of the strangest stat
Let me
spreads
know.
in the entire game. The most obvious quirk is that their intelligence and perception stats are basically 0.
It's a boat full of jelly.
Jellyfish have no central nervous system, and so essentially all intelligence and perception-based abilities are completely locked on their skill tree. The lack of a brain means jellyfish have to play mostly on autopilot, and rely on pre-programmed reflexes and instincts to steer them away from danger and towards food. But those
Jellyfish, they are the target of Darwinism. Okay.
aren't their only extremely weird stats. Jellyfish possess some incredible regenerative abilities and can recover from basically any damage, which is good because jellyfish have next to no defense at all. They're comprised of around 95% water, and their outer layer is a simple jelly-like
95%?
substance that offers very little protection. Luckily, because of the fact they're almost entirely composed of water, they blend in quite well with the water. Many of them are nearly invisible, and all are translucent to some extent, which makes them extremely difficult to detect via eyesight. What most players know about jellyfish, though, is how absolutely cracked their damage stat is. The jellyfish's special
Jellyfish do damage? They sting? Do they sting you or something? I think there might be a stinging jellyfish.
ability, Nematocyst, allows for massive venom damage upon even the
Venom?
slightest contact with their tentacles. This isn't universal, as some jellyfish possess far more potent venom than others, a topic we'll cover extensively during the tier list portion of this video. But
Tell me how I've lived 20 years of my life and never knew jellyfish have venom.
nonetheless, most competent players fear getting too close to any jellyfish because of their deadly reputation.
The dude
Their stat
Steve-O.
spread may seem completely nonsensical until you realize what the meta was like when the jellyfish was first added to the game. I've covered quote-unquote ancient builds before on this channel, builds like the shark, scorpion, and centipede, but jellyfish
Scorpions are from 430 million years ago? The more you know.
vastly predate all
Same with centipedes. Well, actually, I think centipedes. I play Ark. I think there was a centipede type of thing on
of
there.
them. Jellyfish were one of the first, if not the first, major faction of multicellular builds, and so they had very little need for defenses and intelligence when there was very little to defend yourself from or to outsmart. Drifting along, filter feeding on plankton worked just fine.
Okay,
Some might argue
plankton.
it still does.
The plankton,
even
they
though
do eat
cephalopods, fish, and arthropods were added to the game
Why the squid? Is that a squid or octopus? Why is it running on the ground?
soon after, jellyfish remained extremely popular. So after 500 million years of balance
Don't tell me octopus and squid use their tentacles as legs to run across the ground, bro. What?
patches and game updates, let's see which jellyfish builds come out on top. At the bottom of the tier list, we've got the moon jelly, one of the most common jellyfish builds in the game, and yet one that doesn't really make use of the jellyfish build's more interesting abilities. Moon jellies have uniquely short tentacles which deal fairly minimal damage.
The moon jelly
this makes them much less of a threat than basically all other jellies. In addition to that,
that thing right there is free eats. The fishes they getting free eats, and the jellyfish is regenerating its health just to get ate again.
Moon jellies are notably more nutritious than other jellyfish, making them common targets for any player that's able to survive their fairly minimal defenses. In fact, moon jellyfish are one of the only jellyfish which are actively preyed upon by other jellyfish, even when fully grown. The moon jelly's playstyle is entirely
Jelly cannibalism?
passive, relying on its quick respawn rate and strong matchup against plankton to make it worthwhile. Moon jellies are becoming a popular choice in the recent meta as they have a natural resistance to microplastic poisoning, negating one of the main challenges other marine players have had to learn to adapt to recently. So it is a
They're immune to microplastics, unlike the other maybe the other jellyfish may also be. That's why they're above.
solid starter build for players trying to learn the ocean meta, but one that I think most competent players will quickly move on from. Next in F tier we have the comb jelly. Comb jellies are some of the most unique jellyfish builds in the game. In fact,
Yeah, buddy, get them RGB lights out of here. You looking like a anime skin on Call of Duty. I can see you from a mile away.
even calling them jellyfish is contentious as they are technically not part of the Nidarian faction. Nonetheless, they are gelatinous and have most of the same abilities as jellyfish, so I wanted to include them anyway. Their main difference is that comb jellies do not move by pulsing their bell, and instead swim by using rows of cilia. This offers a slightly greater degree of agility and control compared to your standard jellyfish build.
Yeah, don't none of that matter. You got blinking lights on you. You finna get ate in 5 seconds.
Their tentacles are also slightly different, being lined with adhesive glue rather than venomous microbarbs. This is quite efficient at capturing small prey, but is completely useless on defense. And because they still do not possess an advanced nervous system, the fact that they have greater control over their movement via their cilia doesn't amount to that big of an advantage in practice.
See,
I
told you, it don't matter.
Predator attacks
It don't
because
matter.
they cannot dodge an attack that they don't know is coming. This build has a lot of potential if they can just put a few more points into intelligence, but for now I'm still going to place them in F tier. At the bottom of
Sea
D tier,
nettle.
we have the sea nettle. The sea
Next
nettle
tier.
is essentially the most basic, average jellyfish build in the game. It embodies every feature of the archetype, yet excels at none of them and doesn't really have any additional unique abilities. The sea nettle has decent length
So a jack of all trades, master of none. Nice.
tentacles that can inflict solid damage, potentially lethal to builds within its own weight class, but still not strong enough to really merit the extreme caution their reputation has impressed on the player base. With low medium size and the same nearly non-existent nervous system, sea nettles may be more well defended than the moon jelly, but with even the slightest bit of clever counterplay, they still fall apart immediately. Next,
Coral is a jellyfish?
in D tier we have the coral. You might be surprised to see coral on the jellyfish tier list, and indeed I am stretching the definition a little bit, but they are a part of the Nidarian faction, and are less different once you look more closely. Their early game is pretty much identical to the jellyfish, but rather than remaining free-floating,
Wait, this is a baby coral?
they settle onto rocks and surfaces along the seabed and attach to a single point, dropping their mobility stat to 0 for the remainder of their playthrough. To compensate, corals then activate their signature ability, Calcify, constructing an incredibly sturdy exoskeleton around themselves, and massively buffing their defense stat in the process.
Interesting.
As this exoskeleton grows, the coral will also clone itself, eventually granting the player control over an entire colony of coral.
Bro, I never knew this. I thought coral was just like it was just coral. I didn't know it grew from like a little tiny thing.
All to accomplish one thing: AFK experience farming. Once established, the hard part of their playthrough is over, and they can now filter feed for essentially as long as they like. So an easy build to play if you can make it past their vulnerable planktonic early game, although unfortunately the climate change balance patch seems to be a pretty harsh.
Yeah, the climate change is. I seen the Netflix thing about it. What was it, like Saving Our Seas? I think maybe. Coral is getting cooked.
Nerf to this playstyle. And
Man
at the
of
top
War.
of D tier we have the other colonial Nidarian, the Man of War. This build sports medium damage, much higher than the Moon Jelly or Sea Nettle, but still not the instant death level venom that some of the higher tier jellyfish
Instant death?
have. Like other jellyfish, it has low
Nah, what jellyfish are those?
mobility and terrible defenses. But I would say that the Man of War is uniquely vulnerable to predation due to the fact that rather than having a bell to propel itself through the water, instead the Man of War has a balloon, making them very easy to detect and attack from above, where many seabirds hunt. In addition, any damage to the balloon could easily cause it to deflate, sending the Man of War straight to the depths for an instant game over, which negates the advantage most.
Wait, so this thing has like it has a balloon in it, and if you pop the balloon, it's gonna sink to the bottom of the ocean and get ate. Yeah, get up on out of here, though.
Jellyfish have of being able to regenerate from minor to moderate damage. Lastly, the Man of War seems to be uniquely vulnerable to getting beached during severe storms, likely also due to their position.
That buoyancy, the buoyancy keep it at the top of the water, and then the tide goes down, but the buoyancy is still there. They get washed up on the edge.
Positioning on the surface of the water where they get beaten around by the waves and the wind. Still,
And then he frees on the side of the ocean. That's tough.
not something you want to be trading hits with if you're a fish. In C tier we have the Lion's Mane. This is the largest jellyfish build in the game, sporting a massive HP stat and tentacles that can reach lengths of 120 feet,
100
longer than a
feet?
blue whale end to end.
Is this the biggest animal in the sea? You know, the blue whale may be the biggest full-sized animal. The thing said it's bigger than the blue whale with its length and its tentacles.
Giant as it may be, its power stat is still below average, as its venom still isn't really enough to take
Let me
down
find
anything
out.
much larger than a minnow. You would think a bigger jellyfish would go after bigger prey, but similar to the whale, it uses its large size to hit a larger area with its attacks, with the hope of getting frequent multi-kills. Its large size makes it very difficult to kill, simply by nature of it being able to literally survive half of itself being eaten. And there isn't much out there that would need to eat more than half. Still, with its sting
It can survive half of itself getting eaten, and there's pretty much nothing that can eat half of it. Okay, so this thing is like it's like invincible. You take out half of me, I'm regenerating the other half of my body. You can't take out the full thing, so I'm staying alive.
stings being fairly weak, they aren't really threatening enough to merit placement in the higher tiers. Moving on up to B tier, we have the anemone. Similar to coral, anemones are closely related to jellyfish, but opt for a sedentary playstyle rather than a free-roaming one. Unlike coral though, anemones protect themselves using powerful venomous stingers rather than a
Oh wait, I was about to say sea urchin. Is a sea urchin an anemone? They aren't.
hard calcified
I didn't think so.
exoskeleton. Rather than filter feeding on plankton like corals do, they also use this venom to catch and kill prey. Many of them possess
He was sucking that little fish
powerful
up.
venom, enough to cause organ failure even in larger builds like humans. Now,
It can cause organ failure. You get sucked up by an anemone, you get organ failure. That's tough.
normally being completely immobile is a huge vulnerability. However, the reason I rank anemones so high in spite of this weakness is that anemones are some of the best team combo builds in the entire game, forming excellent team comps with both clownfish and crabs. In the case of the clownfish, the anemone and the clownfish cover each other's weaknesses.
They got the squad. They squatted up. The rest of them, Solo.
deterring the predators that the other is vulnerable to. Similar to jellyfish, anemones are vulnerable to sea turtles, as they are resistant to their venom. Clownfish,
Man, it look like it's looking to me like pretty much all of these jellyfish are vulnerable to sea turtles.
valiantly fight for their teammate, even against those sea turtles, which are gargantuan
That fish hit that boy.
by comparison. And in return,
Hold
predatory
him back
fish that
up.
would love to score an easy kill on a small, vulnerable fish need to tank a mouthful of nematocysts to even have a chance at
So is that a rockfish? I think that's a rockfish.
attacking a clownfish. And in the crab's case, rather than fighting off turtles, the crab will actually attach the anemone to itself, gaining venom damage on its own attacks in exchange for granting the anemone its mobility back.
Mmm. The crabs pick up the anemone so they can do poison damage punches. That's crazy.
So, while probably only low to mid-tier on its own, the combo potential of this build makes it an optimal choice in many scenarios and bumps it up to B tier.
Where's my son? That boy talk
And
about
finally,
Nemo.
jumping all the way up to S tier,
It ain't no A tiers. We jump straight to S tier. We got the box jelly.
we have the box jelly. When it comes to overpowered venom, there is quite literally not a single character in the game that has the box jelly beat. Its neurotoxic venom is extremely
Hold
deadly.
up though. Were they just ganging up on this dude?
A single character in the game
It's like six box jellyfish. They ganging up. Who they jumping?
that has the box jelly beat. Its neurotoxic venom is extremely deadly, rapidly paralyzing the victim, quickly leading to suffocation and cardiac arrest.
Nah. It knocked him out, and then he got caught in the thing because he got knocked out. Are these tentacles sticky or something too?
In addition
like
to
he
having
caught
the
him up in
highest
there.
damage of any jellyfish, box jellies also have the highest stealth stat. While many jellyfish sport a wide range of translucent colors like red and blue, box jellyfish are almost completely transparent, as close to invisible as possible. In addition, because they sport fewer tentacles and therefore experience less hydrodynamic drag, and because of their unique bell shape which allows them to jet through the water, box jellyfish have the highest mobility stat of any jelly. This makes them incredibly difficult to detect and avoid as they zoom
The box jellyfish is OP.
through coastal waters, leading many players to simply avoid the territory entirely rather than
If the box jellyfish is in your seas, they said, hey man, y'all gotta stay up out of this beach. They got invisible jellyfish that's up in the water. You can't see them.
risk potential encounters, the hallmark of a high-tier build.
You
And
better
as
stay
if
up
all
out
that
these
wasn't
waters.
cracked enough, box jellyfish are unique in that they're the only jellyfish which have eyes, allowing them to detect danger and avoid obstacles. This enables them to thrive in less open areas where prey like to hide, such as kelp forests or mangrove swamps.
And they got
Coupled with
eyes.
their higher mobility stat, this actually enables
They gonna be up on the beach. They gonna be like, yo, they see you. They finna chase you down.
the box
You better get up
jellyfish
off
to
them
actively
beaches.
pursue prey rather than simply drifting with the current and hoping to catch something. With the exception of tankiness and tentacle attack range, box jellyfish are strictly superior to all other jellies, which is why they're such an outlier on the tier list. I also wanted to
So the anemone is the best jellyfish other than the box jellyfish. The jellyfish class might be kind of how do I say, garbage.
highlight a unique member of the box jelly faction, the Irukandji. The Irukandji is a dwarf variant of the box jelly, maxing out at only an inch or two long, yet also sports the same incredibly potent toxin and all the other special traits that the box jelly possesses, plus one additional trait, bell stingers. Most jellyfish have a pretty massive weak point, their bell. It can be attacked safely without the risk of being stung, so long as the attacker avoids the tentacles. The Irukandji simply does not have this weakness,
'Cause
as
it's too
every
small.
millimeter of its surface is covered in the same
Never
deadly
mind.
stingers. As a result, even accidentally bumping into the Irukandji
Its entire
can
body
result
is
in an
covered in
instant
it.
game over, which has a lot of players
Hold up though. So these little 1 inch box jellyfish can do they can do it to me? Ain't no way.
worried given how much more popular this build has become lately. This is obviously a super risky playstyle though, as the Irukandji
Bro, that's so hard to see. Especially like if you're on the beach or something, you're not seeing that.
Itself has the lowest HP stat of any build I've ever covered on this channel. Even just swimming into an obstacle is damaging enough to kill an Irakanji, so they need to play extremely carefully.
That's insane.
And can't take advantage of the obstacle-heavy environments that the other box jellies can. So that's
So those little 1-inch jellyfish, they got a one-time attack, and it's basically a kamikaze. You can't make this up.
the jellyfish tier list. Generally, I rate most of them low to mid tier, with the exception of the truly formidable outlier of the box jelly. Before we wrap up, I do want to cover some counterplay options. I mentioned it a few times in the video, but sea turtles have a flat-out unlosable matchup against jellyfish, being completely immune to their venom, and so they are able to safely.
Okay, so never mind. All sea turtle, if a jellyfish come across a sea turtle, is GG, no matter what jellyfish. I thought one of them might have immunities, but no.
Safely attack and digest them. But another lesser known but even more effective counter to jellyfish is the sea slug. Not only are they immune to the venom, but they can actually absorb the stingers and convert them into their own defensive weapons, basically giving them all the deadly benefits of the jellyfish without.
Oh, the sea slug might be OP. So you mean to tell me the sea slugs they're a predator for jellyfish, and then they turn the jellyfish's stingers into their own,
without the drawback of being basically brainless. I
That's
expect both of these builds to become a lot more popular as jellyfish numbers continue to increase. So if you're looking to score some easy wins, I recommend learning the strategies of both of these excellent builds. I hope to do a sea slug video soon, so be on the lookout for that.
Did I not just say that? We got a sea slug video coming.
And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it when it drops. And speaking of not missing important video releases, I'd like to remind all my viewers that the best way to watch my content is with
TierZoo,
Nebula, the sponsor of this video.
TierZoo,
because you'll either scan the QR code on screen, head to nebula.tv. Good luck out there.
the jellyfish class. I thought it would be a little stronger. Overall, I think this class kind of sucks, bruh. They kind of getting hold by nature, man. I can't even lie. It's like if I had to put it on the tier list of TierZoo tier lists, the jellyfish would be like they're like a D or F tier, man. This terrible builds. I can't even lie.